The Nasdaq had another buy the dip opportunity on Friday and is now continuing higher. Silver and gold gained a lot of value on a classic buy the rumor, sell the news scenario, and the dollar has lost some value, but I still believe it is respecting the trend line and fundamentally it should continue going higher. Hello everyone, my name is Marco from A1 Trading, and in this video I'm gonna tell you what I'm watching, buying, selling, preparing for. I'm gonna break down the major assets in the markets and I'm gonna prepare you for this up and coming trading week. So the first thing I want to discuss is the US government has reopened finally. So after 40 something days of being in shutdown and with us having no USD news, we have finally started to get some news. At least we're gonna get them this week. So I believe the NFP, the employment data, is announced for Thursday this week. So that would be the 20th of November. If we see, November 20th, Thursday, we can see non-farm payrolls. It's pretty much confirmed. It has been released from the BLS, or the date has been released from the BLS. So finally, we're starting to get some news. Now that is really important because the news moves the markets. You can say that you can spot all of the movement in technical analysis and that you can trade solely off technical analysis, but the fundamentals, the news events are what actually makes the price move. If you don't believe me, just check out these small bubbles on the bottom and see how the price moves during these announcements, okay? Maybe not lately because we had no dollar news, but maybe some prior news events, okay? Fundamentals are always the most important, the most market moving. So we had a classic buy the rumor, sell the news scenario on silver, and I want to explain that. I want to talk about this US government shutdown first at the beginning of the video to prepare you, and maybe you will learn something because this is a very simple trading edge. So what is a trading edge? Trading edge is a piece of information that you know, but most other market participants are not aware of, okay? A great example is the taco trade. So Trump always chickens out. Trump makes a crazy tweet, crazy post, market dips, you buy the dip, and he walks back on his word. That is an example of a trading edge. Now on silver, there was a buy the rumor, sell the news. Usually when there is a rumor, the markets move, and then once the actual news comes out, the market sells off because now everyone pretty much has got in, everyone has bought or sold, and there is no buyers or sellers left. With this particular example, on Monday, we had some rumors starting that the US government will reopen that week, so last week. Now, why is that bullish for silver? Well, once the US government reopens, that means the liquidity taps open. So there's a huge injection of liquidity into the US economy and just into the world economy as well. Major liquidity injections are super inflationary. They devalue the dollar, they make you lose purchasing power, okay, because the dollar is worth less. Inflation goes up, and what is the best way to protect yourself against inflation? It is to buy gold or buy silver. So on both gold and silver, we actually saw them rally on this rumor. And on Thursday, you got the confirmation. So the US House made a vote and they voted to end the shutdown and to reopen the government. So on this news, we sold off. Buy the rumor, sell the news. By the time the news hits the markets, all of the smart players, all of the smart money, all of the biggest liquidity has already made their moves and there's no one left to buy at this point. So we go down, we actually sell. I took a position here, which I could break down right now. So essentially I bought on Monday and then it was a pretty nice trade, small stop loss, limited risk. The edge finder was bullish as well. Right, so the edge finder gave me a bullish reading. Let's see, what is it now? It was a pretty high reading. It was like a 9, I believe. So now it's a 5 bullish, but it was a 9. If you want to get the edge finder, by the way, you can do so with my discount code Marco, and you can get 40% off for this Black Friday month. Okay, so code Marco for a big discount on the edge finder. I had that confluence from the edge finder. I had the buy the rumor, sell the news scenario, and we were in a massive uptrend. And if you have been watching my content or following these weekly videos on the A1 channel, you would know that I wanted to get in ever since the 28th of August. So I have been actively looking for buy setups on silver from the 28th of August, and I was looking for pullbacks. We finally got a pretty decent pullback. It shook out the weak hands. It made the markets correct, which is healthy. That's a healthy sign. That's a good thing. You want to see this. You want to see the weak hands get shaken out, and then maybe we can continue going higher and you get in at a discount. So essentially from the all-time high, I got in at a discount of around minus 7.6%. I would say that is not too bad. I was also considering buy setups on gold as well. But silver looked a bit more enticing. So silver looked a bit more volatile, and it seemed like a better opportunity. This time it was the right call. Was there really a definite reason to take silver over gold? No, except that the volatility in silver is higher, but gold actually stagnated. Silver reached all-time highs while gold, close to all-time highs, while gold just was a bit more quiet. So I got lucky this time. And those were the confluences. So essentially in trading, you're building a story. You're assembling the puzzle. You're assembling all of the confluences, and then you buy or sell. If you want me to list all of the confluences, you had the Edgefinder bullish reading, you had the nice uptrend, technical analysis, you had a nice pullback, again technical analysis. We broke out of the range right there, that's like the fourth confluence. And the fifth, the final one, the most important one, is the buy the rumor, sell the news, US government reopening. I'm pretty happy with the trade. I'm pretty proud of the trade, if I'm not, if you want me to be honest. I know I keep blabbing on about it, but yeah, I'm pretty happy I managed to get in with the buy the rumor, sell the news. It's not often I get to exploit this trading edge. Okay, it's not often that you get it. So we reached all-time highs, close to all-time highs, and on Thursday morning I closed half of my position, exactly because of the phenomenon that I just explained. We get the news is released, and then the market sells off. So it was a good call. I sold 50%. Why didn't I sell the full position? Well, because I still think I'm in at a good price. I still think this is a decent price to get in on the overall uptrend, and I'm still bullish. Edgefinder is still bullish. I'm still bullish. Fundamentally, I think the massive money printing is just going to continue. Inflation is just going to go higher. Inflation is already too high in the US, if you want to take a look. CPI, 3%, way above target. You have to note the target should always be 2%. That is what all central banks aim for, 2%. So inflation is high. Your money is losing value every year. Trump's big beautiful bill is coming in 2026. It has massive spending, massive money printing connected with it. So guess what? Inflation is just gonna keep going higher. Things will just keep getting more expensive. Buy some gold, buy some silver, at least as a long-term investment, okay? So just as a long-term investment, I think it's very good to have some gold, have some silver, or have a bit of S&P. This is not financial advice, but you have to know that the price of a house in, let's say, the 1970s is the same as today in gold. So let's say it took one gold bar to buy a huge mansion in 1970s. Well, it takes one gold bar to buy that same house today. So absolutely the best hedge against inflation is gold and silver. I mean, not the best, but a very, very effective hedge against inflation. Just look at this chart of gold. Okay, you can buy, I would say physical gold is great. I know Trader Nick, he holds a lot of gold, he holds a lot of silver, physical gold, physical silver, if I'm not mistaken. This train is just going up, and it basically shows you the inflation. So this is the inflation. Just inflation is always going higher with massive, massive moves, massive, massive sweeps. So be prepared. Don't make your money sit in your account and just lose value every single year. That is not smart, especially if you're proficient in the financial markets. Again, not financial advice, just my opinion. So silver, that is the position. I'm still holding 50% of my position. The plan is to trail the stop loss. So if the markets do want to continue going higher, I will trail my stop loss below the swing lows. That is the game plan right here. Again, now it's around break even, so we have corrected quite a lot, but I think this level is pretty healthy. I think fundamentals are still bullish and I'm holding this trade. The NASDAQ right there is in a massive uptrend. Now I do quickly want to jump onto the Forex Factory calendar. This is something that we do every week, and I just go through the numbers that have printed. Well, there's not gonna be a lot of work in this video because we haven't had pretty much anything. We got some Aussie data which came in really good. See, the actual number much more bullish than the forecast. The unemployment rate much more bullish than the forecast. So I'm actually considering selling pound Aussie, which I will talk about because I'm very bearish on the pound and I have actually started to become bullish on the Aussie. So I think pound Aussie is a pretty good currency pair to trade, and I do have it on my watch list. So we got nothing. GBP, GDP, bad. Okay, negative, bearish. So the pound data, it just doesn't look good at all. If we go to this week, the main thing I'm watching, the most important thing I'm watching is of course NFP. US dollar news is always the most important, the most market moving, creates the most volatility, and is connected with pretty much every other currency pair, pretty much every other asset. Everything is quoted in US dollars. Gold, silver, oil, copper, it's all quoted in US dollars. US dollar is the most important currency in the world, just the reality. So NFP is gonna be really important. I'm closely watching it. It's gonna happen on Thursday, pretty much gonna happen, it's been confirmed. What is the expectation of the rate cuts? As you know, we are closely watching what is the Fed doing. Will they cut rates in December? So the next meeting is on the 10th of December 2025. Will they cut rates or will they keep rates the same? Well, the probabilities have actually been going lower and lower for the rate cut. It used to be, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, a rate cut in December was pretty much definite. Then you got Powell's speech, and he said, we are not sure about the rate cut in December. Then you got the US government shutting down. Then you got some other stuff as well. And we have gone from 90% certainty of a rate cut to 44.6% chance of a rate cut in December. So it's no longer definite, you know, it is not sure that we will get a rate cut. It is more likely that we won't get a rate cut in December. What is that? What do you think? Is that bullish or bearish for the US dollar? If the Fed pauses, you can also go to the Fed rate cut or interest rates chart. I use the Trading Economics free website. So if we go to allow all cookies, of course, if you go to the 5-year chart, they're on a path to cut rates. Well, if they pause rate cuts, that is considered hawkish. And what do you think the DXY does? Is it bullish or bearish? In my opinion, it's bullish because they're on one path. They have a specific narrative. It's all about narratives in Forex. So currently the narrative for the dollar is we are cutting rates. Well, if they pause cutting rates, the narrative has switched. The narrative has switched to we are pausing cutting interest rates. That is considered hawkish. That is bullish on the dollar. And that should work well for my USD CAD long position, which I will of course discuss a bit later. So the trades that I'm in go in line with the narratives that I'm anticipating, such as massive printing of money, I'm long silver, such as no rate cuts in December, I'm long the dollar, such as Aussie gaining strength, I'm going to sell the pound Aussie, and some other stuff, okay? So hopefully that all makes sense. Hopefully I haven't lost you throughout this video. So we are now in the segment of the Forex Factory calendar. We have a lot of other news. Not gonna lie, there's a lot of news this week compared to the last week. Just compare the table. But this week there's a lot of stuff. So what I recommend, every single day jump onto the Forex Factory calendar. It's absolutely free. See how the numbers are coming out. See how you're positioned, and maybe you can improve your trading edge with looking at this data. Maybe you can get some new trade ideas, because last week, with the help of Sluggy from the A1 Discord, I got a nice trade idea to sell the Aussie, and we got some very decent Aussie data. I haven't done it yet, but it is on the watch list. By the way, if you want to join the A1 Discord, if you want to get trade signals, if you want to get trade interactions, chart breakdowns, complete signals with all of the explanations of why we took a specific trade. So it's not about just giving you a signal. It is about teaching you. So the signals come with massive explanations and a lot of screenshots to actually teach you why we took a specific position, so that you can replicate that signal and maybe develop a trade idea of your own for the future. So that's the general idea of the signals. It's not just for you to make money in the markets by following signals. It is for you to also learn how the markets work, why we are looking at specific things, and how you can also develop those sort of trade ideas and have a trading edge. So if you want to join the Discord, as I told you, I got an idea to sell the pound Aussie from the Discord member, Sluggy, and you can join the Discord with my code Marco, and you can get, I believe, 40% off, maybe even more. Again, it's a Black Friday sale, and definitely take a look. Consider joining so that we can discuss some trade ideas in the trading chat. So, getting back to it, right here. That's about it. I don't want to waste too much of your time. Follow my live streams. So I'm streaming on Trader Nick pretty much every single day, and I'm breaking down these numbers. I'm looking at how the data is coming out. But again, the most important thing I'm watching is the employment data. And employment data is highly connected to the interest rate, right? To the Fed interest rate. Because if we get good employment data, then they have no reason to cut rates. But if we get really poor economic data, really bad economic data, really bad NFP print, that makes the Fed more likely to cut interest rates. That makes the dollar lose value, and that has all sorts of other implications for the markets. As I told you, the value of the dollar is interconnected with every single thing you can see here. Pretty much every single thing here is going to move if the dollar moves heavily. So now, finally, let's discuss my watch list. On my watch list, I have the NASDAQ, I have the pound Aussie, silver, USD CAD. These are the four main instruments I'm watching going into this new week. So for the NASDAQ, I possibly again missed buying the dip. A known phenomenon during Trump's presidency, something that's pretty cool to know, is usually Mondays are very, very bullish days in the stock market, okay? Usually on Friday there is a bit of a sell-off, but then on Monday things pick up and the stock market explodes. Why is that? Well, because Trump keeps the US stock market as a scorecard. If the stock market is doing well, he is doing well in his head. But essentially, over the weekend, he sometimes has good announcements, bullish tweets, bullish speeches that help push the markets. So if he notices that the stock market is struggling for the whole week, sometimes he waits for the weekend to announce something, and then the stock market just gaps up. So it is another trading edge. You have the taco trade. Trump always chickens out. Well, this is another one. Trump kind of pushes the stock market to the upside over the weekend, and Mondays are usually very, very bullish. You can look at Trump's first presidency, you can look at Trump's second presidency. In both cases, Mondays were pretty bullish. So this was possibly a buy the dip opportunity on Friday. See, we dipped lower, tried to go lower, couldn't do it. We printed a huge wick, went up. I personally didn't want to take a position because I took a position on Bitcoin. So I took a position on Bitcoin on Thursday last week, and it was a risk on play. I was long on the US stock market, long on the NASDAQ, long on the Bitcoin. On Bitcoin, I believe Bitcoin acts as a technology stock. So Bitcoin moves like a very, very risky technology stock. So when the NASDAQ moves up, Bitcoin usually follows. And this was my risk on play. We also had a massive, I would say, support level here. We also had a pretty strong trend line going through this level like this, okay, like this. So I thought technical analysis was bullish. I thought fundamentals were bullish. US government reopening, that will for sure open the liquidity taps and should make Bitcoin go up. That was the play. Tight stop loss, got in on Thursday, got taken out. So because I got stopped out on this position, I was no longer happy to try and get in on the NASDAQ. Maybe that was a mistake. Maybe that was my error, but I didn't get in. So there was another dip, as I told you on Friday. We pushed higher, and possibly this was another buy the dip opportunity. Possibly now that the US opens in like 3 hours, because I'm in the London time zone. So essentially, once the US opens, we could get a push to the upside. This is pre-market moves, I believe. But I'm bullish. I'm bullish. I think the US government has reopened. I think liquidity taps have opened as well. I think a massive injection of liquidity is coming. Trump's big beautiful bill. Trump keeps the stock market as a scorecard. So he basically uses the stock market to say, look at how bullish it is. I'm doing such a great job. And he doesn't want to see the stock market suffer. He doesn't want to see a bear market, and he's gonna do everything in his power to keep stocks going higher, okay? We have seen it. It is a known fact. It is the taco trade. Usually on the weekend, he does sort of a bullish announcement in some sort of way. And then on Monday, usually the stock market does very, very well. It's a seasonality occurrence, okay? And also, Santa rally. If you look at the Edge Finder, seasonality, monthly, S&P, November and December, bullish. NASDAQ, November and December, very bullish. So we have the Santa rally. I just listed 3 or 4 massive confluences to be long on the stock market. So I'm actually considering buy setups. I'm looking at the levels, I'm looking at how we open today on Monday, I'm looking at how the NFP will come out, and I'm considering some buy setups. I'm not ready yet because I did take that loss on Bitcoin, and Bitcoin can sometimes act as a leader for the NASDAQ. What am I talking about? Let me show you. So, oh, not that. New price scale. This is Bitcoin and the NASDAQ. Notice this. We dipped first on Bitcoin in the beginning of 25, and then the NASDAQ followed. Same thing could be happening now. Dip on Bitcoin, NASDAQ could follow, okay? So history doesn't repeat itself, but history does rhyme. That is how we create a trading edge. That is how we create basically a trade idea. So I told you, Bitcoin and the NASDAQ are very, very interconnected. They're both massive risk-on plays, very risky, especially Bitcoin is super risky. So Bitcoin could be a leader for the NASDAQ. Once the sort of risk-on sentiment goes down, people no longer want to buy massively risky assets. It starts with Bitcoin. And then stocks follow. Maybe Palantir, maybe Nvidia, maybe Tesla, all of those meme stocks, basically. And then the whole NASDAQ falls. So yeah, because of that, I don't want to get in just now. I want to be a bit more patient. Maybe that's going to be a mistake. Maybe my patience is going to be bad for my results, but we will see. I am bullish. I'm bullish, but I don't have a position in. So I'm still thinking of how I can structure a trade here. What can I do? What can I wait for? How will the NFP turn out? And then I will consider some buy setups. We're still respecting the trend line as well. I mean, technical analysis is still to the upside. We still haven't broken any key levels. We still haven't gotten a massive sell-off. This was a very healthy pullback. If we go down even more, I would still call it a very healthy pullback. If we go to this level, I will definitely be buying. I'll definitely be a buyer because I think that's a nice discount level. So that's about it. Bullish. Looking for entries, but I'm still assembling the trade. Pound Aussie. So for the Pound Aussie, I told you I'm short. I like the Aussie. I think the Aussie is producing good data. We can take a look at the short-term data. I like to distinguish between short-term and long-term data. Very important. Short-term data is here. If you go to the Aussie, these are all of the latest numbers that have come out. 85.71% is coming out bullish. Let's see the UK. 50-50. So short term, pound is neutral, while the Aussie is strong. Long term data, I'm looking at the GDP. Let's compare. Let's do the Aussie first. Looks pretty healthy, looks positive. Let's take a look at the UK. Horrible. I would say it's pretty bad all over the place. Unemployment. Let's take a look at the Aussie. And in Forex, it's all about relative results. How is the Aussie doing relative to the pound, right? It's not so much about having awesome numbers. It's just about having better numbers than the other economy. So Aussie, not bad. Pound, definitely in an uptrend and rising. 5% and rising. That is pretty problematic, I would say. Now, inflation. Look at the pound. Very high inflation, 3.8%, super high. They're facing a stagflation scenario. Look at the Aussie. Last print was pretty high. So last print was pretty high inflation. This may make the central bank more hawkish. So the Australian Central Bank can allow themselves to be more hawkish because they have good GDP, good unemployment. While the UK is facing stagflation, they have bad GDP, they have bad unemployment, it's very tough for them to raise interest rates. So the Aussie can afford to, the Australian Central Bank can afford to raise interest rates. That's another bullish factor for the Aussie. So both, the Aussie is winning both in the short-term data, the Aussie is winning both in the long-term data, it is winning in the central bank decisions. So I would say the Australian Central Bank is hawkish, while the Bank of England doesn't really know what to do. They're facing a stagflation scenario. And I think the recent drama in the metals market, XME, we have had quite a sell-off in the metals market. As you know, 30% of Australia's GDP comes from metals and mining. I would say this is not such a big problem as I first thought. I think we can recover, especially if gold and silver go up. I think this goes up as well. And that creates more demand for the Aussie. So I don't think the Aussie is gonna suffer because of this. I think the Aussie is holding up pretty well, and I think it's a bullish currency. Those are the fundamentals. I have just assembled the story. I have just connected all of the pieces of the puzzle. Now take a look at technical analysis. We are in a downtrend. We are respecting the 20 MA, mostly being below the 20 MA on the daily chart. I would say this looks pretty healthy. This is a nice level to take a position right around the 20 MA. Tight stop loss, positive reward to risk, just aiming for the lows as your first take profit. Or you can use a trailing stop loss and move the stop loss above the swing highs. That could be a play as well. But I'm looking at a tight stop loss and a positive reward to risk to possibly get in. I may sell even today. If you're in the A1 Discord, you will get a trade signal with all of the explanations. And if you want to join the A1 Discord and get this trade signal, you can do so with my discount code MARCO and exploit our Black Friday sale. So make sure you jump on it. That is for the pound Aussie. Silver, I mostly covered. I told you everything about this trade. 50% I took off here, 50% is still running. I'm trailing my stop loss if the price wants to continue grinding higher. USD CAD, I'm still in. If you have been following me for a couple of weeks now, I make these videos every week. If you have been following what I've been doing, essentially I'm in USD CAD. I've been running some massive percentage and then we dropped, unfortunately, back to break even. Now I'm running a bit of profit, but I would say long term, this position is still not broken. I would say long term, this position is still pretty bullish. The data is still bullish USD, bearish the CAD. The CAD is, I would say, the worst currency right now, especially check out the unemployment. So check out the unemployment rate for the CAD. Horrible. 6.9%. Would you like to be in Canada with this unemployment? Would you like to be in Canada with rising inflation? I think they do have kind of rising, not really, but it's above target. GDP, that is what I wanted to show you. Long-term GDP, very bad. So contracting, the Canada's economy is contracting. It is pretty clear. You can look at the housing data, housing prices. Last 5 years, they have been in a downtrend. So your house is worth less and less every single year. The situation in Canada is pretty bad. I'm not sure how they will save it, but until they do save it, I'm gonna be short on the CAD, I'm gonna be selling it. So the fundamental Play has still not changed. I'm also collecting positive swaps on this position. If we go to the carry trade scanner, is the CAD. See, buy setup, USD CAD. You basically receive positive swaps as long as you keep holding this position. So because I'm collecting positive swaps, I don't mind holding this trade for the next 2 to 3 months, maybe even more. I don't mind holding this trade for 2 years because it's positive swaps. So fundamentals are still bullish. I still think the dollar goes up. We are respecting this trend line. The trend line still has not been broken. So technical analysis is bullish as well. We are above the 20 MA, and the game plan is to trail my stop loss. So if the markets do decide to go higher, I will just keep moving my stop loss below the swing lows. Okay? Now, quickly, my view on the DXY is I'm bullish. I believe that the rate cut in December may not happen, and if it does happen, it's going to be a hawkish cut. Hawkish cuts usually end up being bullish for the dollar. It is just the trading edge. It is just a phenomenon. It happened on the 17th of September. It happened on the 29th of October. Both were Fed events. Both had a speech from Powell, and the speech was hawkish. And in both cases, we went up. Even though there was a rate cut, see, rate cut, right here, see, rate cut. Rate cuts should be bearish, but it's all about the future projections. It's all about the forward guidance. Forward guidance was hawkish, we went up. I think the same thing is gonna happen. I'm positioned accordingly, I'm long USD CAD, I'm long on the dollar. I think this is just a pullback. We are still above the 20 MA. Technical analysis looks good. We're respecting the trend line. We are moving higher, and I don't think this is going to stop. Bitcoin, just to cover Bitcoin, I don't know about Bitcoin. I'm neutral. So on the Nasdaq, I'm bullish, but on Bitcoin, we have broken a key level of support. We have broken a key trend line that I showed you. Okay, it's right here running through these lows. And we are in the bearish part of the halving cycle. So bearish part of the halving cycle is a bit of a problem. And I'm not sure what is going to happen. Ethereum doesn't look good either. It just keeps selling off, being below the 20 MA. So I'm just staying away from crypto right now. I tried to get in on a position. It didn't work because my level was broken. I'm going to be more patient on crypto. The last thing we can cover is possibly UJ, USD Yen, pretty popular currency pair. I'm kind of bullish if I'm being honest. I'm bullish on the dollar. On the yen, I'm a bit uncertain because you have the Bank of Japan, which is hawkish, and then you have the Prime Minister, new Prime Minister, Takaishi. She is dovish. So there's a clash between the Bank of Japan and the new Prime Minister. They're not sure what they're gonna do. Do they want to raise interest rates? Do they want to lower inflation? Do they want to stimulate growth? I'm not sure about the yen. I'm not sure about the fundamental stance on the yen. We can look at the data on the Edge Finder. Let's see the most recent data. The short-term data, it's bearish. For the US is bullish actually, and I have a bullish stance as I mentioned. So if I had to pick a direction, it would be bullish. One thing I'm worried as well is the intervention level. You have to know that Bank of Japan loves doing interventions. They did a massive intervention in July 2024. I caught some nice short trades in this move. That was nice. If we get something like this again, that will be awesome. But from 156 to 159 or to 160 is a problematic area where the Bank of Japan may start coming out with announcements that they are considering an intervention, that they don't like where the USD yen exchange rate is going. That's a problem if I'm long. So even if I take a buy setup here, I would still have to close it pretty soon because of possible intervention from the Bank of Japan. That makes the whole position pretty dangerous, and that makes me a bit more patient. So I'm not sure if I want to take a buy setup on UJ. It's not on the watch list, but if I had to pick a direction, I would say it's going to go to the upside. So that is about it. We covered most of the stuff. I hope I prepared you for this upcoming week. I hope I told you my bias on most of the main assets. And just let's look at the NFP. So let's wait for that NFP print. Tune in on my live streams and you can get live updates about all of these numbers. And do they change my view? Do they change the whole situation? I think the Fed is going to continue to be somewhat hawkish. I think a rate cut in December is very kind of 50-50. And I think the dollar keeps on gaining value. That is my forecast. Thank you very much for watching. Take advantage of our Black Friday sale, and I will see you in the next video.
Did you know we do a live trading show Monday through Friday with guests from all over the world? To get notified when we go live, click the bell button next to the subscribe button or check in at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. We have helpful, free content in the description below and on our website, a1trading.com. Thanks for watching today's video, and we'll see you tomorrow.